This is Tim Tucker, AE6LX, from the Worldwide Radio Forum at www.worldwidedx.com. In this video series, we're going to explore the MFJ-998 1500 watt auto tuner. We're going to do a pretty thorough rundown of its features and functions so you can understand how you can use this tuner in your amateur radio shack. First, let's take a look at the connections and the inside of this tuner. So you can see here I've popped the cover off and turned it around so we can see the back of the tuner. Here's where we hook up the transmitter. Here's where we have our two antenna connections, antenna coax connections, antenna 1 and antenna 2. You have a wire connection here. If you hook up the wire connection, you should not ever also hook up the antenna 1 connection. That's what this error message here says, or warning message rather. Here's our ground. So all this is pretty standard so far as antenna tuners go. Here's a couple of the unique, interesting features with this tuner. Over here, these two RCA jacks are for your amplifier interface. This is going from your transceiver into the tuner, and then this goes from the tuner out to your amplifier for your amplifier relay. What this does is it allows the amplifier, when it detects a high SWR situation, to not pass the push to talk over to your amplifier, so you won't accidentally burn out the transistors or damage the tubes in your amplifier. It basically takes it out of line if there's a high SWR condition. This connection over here is your power. 12 volt DC power, needs 1.4 amps. This is not just to power the lights and the meters and things like that. It actually needs power, requires power to work. So make sure you use a regular power supply that gives you a couple of amps. Depending on how you are interfacing with the radio, you may or may not use this RJ45 interface connection. We'll discuss a little bit later a couple of the different ways that you can trigger the tuning mechanism, and you may need this, you may not. You have a couple of different choices on how you want to do it. And the last connection here is the serial port. This is for applying firmware updates to the tuner, which is kind of nice. Alright, and we'll take a look at the inside of the tuner here real quick, so you can get a look at what's going on here. So obviously the first thing you notice are these large inductors. You can see as I put my hand next to them, they're really quite large, to make sure that they can handle the power that the legal limit power that you might use this for. These are all the relays to switch between the inductors. And then here's our bank of capacitors over here, and all the relays to switch the capacitors in and out. On this back side right here is a board with an adjustment on it, and a couple of other adjustments here. I'm not going to discuss these right now. These are the adjustments you use for calibrating the tuner, the meters, the power levels, etc. I have another video which I've done which explains in detail how to perform the calibration on this tuner. So let's now take a look at how this thing works and how the various functions and what the functionality is of this tuner. Now let's discuss the basic operation of the tuner. We'll go ahead and turn it on. There are two basic ways to use the tuner. One is to purchase one of the MFJ transceiver interfaces that goes between the tuner and your transceiver. If you go that route, all you have to do is hit the tune button. It will cause your transceiver to transmit a low power signal, and the tuner will engage. For the particular rig that I use, the Elecraft K3, there is not a cable available, so we put the tuner into auto mode, and we'll discuss how to do that in another video. With the tuner in auto mode, all I have to do is hit the tune button on the transceiver, which emits a low power signal, and you can see the tuner has automatically tuned my antenna. You can see in the display here it shows us the current frequency, the SWR 1.0 is what it tuned it to, the forward power 18 watts, what the transceiver is emitting right now, and the reflective power. You notice this indicator right here is the antenna indicator. We can switch back and forth between multiple antennas. Antenna 2, antenna 1. The little A next to it indicates that we have the transceiver in auto mode. Now I'm going to go ahead and change the band on the transceiver down to 20 meters, and we'll go ahead and have the transceiver emit a carrier. Okay, you can see that we were on 14.240. It tuned the antenna to 1.0 to 1 SWR with forward power 17.7 watts and reflected power of 0 watts. Now what's neat about this tuner is that it has memories. So now that we've tuned two bands, 17 meters and 20 meters, I can switch back to the 17 meter band and go ahead and emit a carrier, and you'll notice that the tuner will very quickly tune the antenna to the settings that were already stored in the tuner's memory. See how quickly I did that? A simple relay switch to recall the memory, and it's done. And to illustrate the point one more time, I'll switch back to 20 meters and do the same thing. There it was, just like that. It tuned up the 20 meter frequency. So what you've seen is how it searches for the correct match and then stores that match and then recalls it the next time you tune up to that frequency. So that's the basic hookup and operating instructions to get you started with the tuner. Stay tuned and watch the rest of the videos while we explore more of the options and features of this MFJ-998 tuner.